We whisper through. This is the type of resonating experience that you could or would encounter when you have a piece of our jewelry strapped onto your body. Because this is a resemblance of something that is symbolic of a spiritual finance conceptualization that is coming through the instance that you can wear something that is representative of a symbol in spiritual finance and also business music. That is the ability to leverage certain dinky tech in Change for Game Studios powers just by touching a piece of metal or a piece of symbology that we are trying to bring forward to you as an audience, little bits at a time, by bringing little products such as spiritual jewelry and spiritual finance jewelry through the pipeline and the works one day at a time as little symbols and symbology of each of these podcasts, for example, which is each day sort of a representation of different mindsets that are set forth and different paradigms that are able to be represented in the form of a little bit of a picture. And at the same time, once we get that a little bit broadcast a little bit more efficiently, then at the same time we've got jewelry which can be representative of different spiritual paradigms, and that as a result is empowering to be able to remember this symbiology from, for example, another format of these episodes being condensed into a nice piece of something that can easily be remembered or worn. Oh, and this does not necessarily always make it easy to be able to represent this sound and the symbology of this sound in the form of a sound necessarily, but at the same time we're trying to make this podcast something that can take different shapes and different forms in the world, and just like something of an energy that is monetary energy, the science behind money energy, the science behind knowing money and the physics of money and the physics of how it influences money and the physics of life is enhanced and influenced by the essence of money energy, and money energy has something to do with it all, and money is a circulating energy that has to do with physics and science and the physical nature and science of the physical nature of love and the physical nature of money in of itself. The nature of money as an energy is not something that's necessarily has been known and has been condensed and has been defined. It is very much obscure. Monetary energy, money energy, is something that is not a physical force, just like electricity necessarily. So that is why we try to quantify the physics and the science of money energy and the power of money and the power of money energy that is within all of your minds. It only exists and it lives within all of our minds. It is something that is only quantified within some of these episodes of Dinky Tech and the Nature of Love. It is something that is a personal reflection on different human beings of how the physics of energy is able to shape and format the different aspects and the different functionalities of your own reality, necessarily to be able to form your own reality, to be able to shape your own reality, to be able to lay pipelines of cables into the future of blue oceans, of white oceans is what I meant to say, blue oceans and white oceans, which means white space in the world, be able to lay cables from where you're sitting at now and be able to develop sensory perception to be able to lay cables into the future, lay those cables and strengthen those cables into the future to be able to try to lay them into white plains and white foundational oceans that are like blue oceans that are representations of open opportunity in the world, that is different markets that have open opportunity. And at the same time, when you think about life, when you think about yourself as a unique perspective and a unique person, just like similar to a snowflake, and how that unique perspective is being wasted by not being able to acknowledge that unique perspective, that in essence it's unique to be able to acknowledge that in essence nobody else sees through your eyeballs in a similar fashion that anybody else has the ability to see through from that exact standing place that you're standing in right now and the exact perspective of your eyeballs right now, because you are taking up that space. You are the only person taking up the mass in the existing perspective from the existing place and point and space and time that you're looking from your perspective right now at the exact moment and the exact second that you're listening to this podcast, at the exact second that this is happening while you're transpiring this sound and energy into your ears and back and forth through your eyeballs, to be able to acknowledge that only your eyeballs have this unique perspective, that this exact perspective and moment in time, and that every other place in the world, all other spaces and places in the world are not your eyeballs, and therefore they're lacking in your perspective. And every other little square inch, all other square inches that are the same sizes of eyeballs in other aspects and other places in the whole world, they are not in the same perspectivization as your brain and space in this exact current moment and second in time, in this exact physics conceptual relationship and parallel necessarily at the current moment and second and nanosecond in time. So therefore, for that reason, it is possible to be able to acknowledge yourself as uniqueness, and nobody else can copy that, because at this specificness you are, at this specific time and specificness of this time, you are something that is completely unique, completely like a snowflake. So being able to repurpose that energy into something unique and market that energy into the world as something that is unique and favorable and in demand and significant and worth demanding, in essence, to be able to acknowledge how you, in essence, have to become like music. You have to become like business music. You have to spread yourself into music-like systematization and be able to get into the core of what certain business processes are that exist in the universe, and be able to have the business tools to be able to capitalize on demand and capitalize on people that are interested in your energy, and be able to sort of find motivated sellers, be able to find motivated sellers that are able to correspond to the demand that you're demanding from them, because their demand is corresponding and analogous to your supply, and your supply corresponds to what they are demanding, and you have a reciprocal relationship. But you have to be able to acknowledge this of what they are selling to begin with and how they are, in essence, wanting to sell. But at the same time, you need to help them to be able to come full circle, to be able to realize that they want to sell what you're trying to buy, and at the same time it's reciprocal because they're trying to buy what you're trying to sell in terms of energy that you're trying to sell them, but you're actually trying to buy from them to be able to sell at a different time. So we're talking about vendors being able to pick up assets to be able to then be able to resell at a higher value, because different people want to sell, but they sometimes want to sell at an under market rate because they want to sell based off of urgency, and that sometimes is an optimal time to be able to buy things for people necessarily. So you're able to develop an orchestra. You develop an orchestra of different systems, of different pulleys, of different systematization to be able to reach the conclusion that somebody has the ability to be able to sell you something at an under market value, to then be able to use that information to then be able to sell it into the market at a wider space and a different place, and remarket those things and those items in a different way, to be able to speak into blue oceans and lay down cables and foundations of cables into blue oceans and different pipelines, and remarketing and repurposing and reconceptualizing messages for conceptual products and processes and existing businesses at the current time, so that in the future they can be led into the pipeline down more valuable avenues, so that in the future you can sell businesses and business assets for more than you're able to purchase them for. So it is a reciprocal relationship nonetheless, because you're helping people out when you're buying assets from them to begin with, but at the same time in the future you're able to sell things with a bit more value. So it's a reciprocal relationship, because you want to pay a fair price to begin with, and then at the same time you're paying market price to begin with, and at the same time you're able to help people realize in a full cyclical sense, and a psychological sense as well, that you are doing and looking out for the best interests of them and both parties at the same time, so that in the future you can add more value and add more value to the world, and add more philanthropy energy value into the world by playing your orchestra. By playing your orchestra and having your orchestra different assets, different aspects of your orchestra be able to move the party down the line as you meet them, as you move the party down the line through your systematization, and you play the orchestra. It's like you're conducting the orchestra of the different business tools within your pipeline of a process of fulfilling transactions through systematization, and having a team that can fulfill, such as an accountant, such as a legal team, such as these types of things that are in place, that are also able to be in place for the use of a commission-based deal structures, by having an orchestra in place, and you want to move it down the line so that different people get the different thing at the different time, and they're happy to get their business because they want to get the business of getting commission by having a deal be able to be presented in front of them, and them also be able to get a piece of the deal. So by having an orchestra, it's like they're passing the deal around the orchestra, and you're the conductor of the deal. You're telling the deal through the orchestra. You're using the orchestra to play a different sound to be able to pass the deal down the line through the orchestra, so that one side to the next it goes down the line from value in the order of operation, so that the business music aligns, and that ultimately, once the transaction is completed, that the most value is able to be squeezed in and out of the deal, so that ultimately when you resell the deal, ultimately in the marketplace of the wider oceans, when you are able to repurpose and repipeline the blue oceans of demand, when you're laying your cables from where you're standing now into future places that are paradigm shifting into wider oceans that are white space oceans in the future, that you're helping those businesses in the short and long term to become better businesses in the future, because you're looking out for them to be able to develop the most philanthropy energy possible by laying and playing their energy into these blue ocean markets that are open space markets, that are white space markets, that are open space for people to buy. And there's a lot of demand there, but there's not a lot of supply there. And so you're able to repurpose these assets into these white oceans and these white spaces and these blue oceans of open space, so that this existing demand is able to be consumed in this new blue ocean space, and that you're able to also use your orchestra to be able to go around and help existing businesses to develop more value by playing business music with them, along with them, collaborating a little bit of doot, a little bit of an orchestra to be able to help move that business deal, that business music down the line through your orchestra and have them you orchestrate the deal in the process so that it moves directly and swiftly through the goal at the end of the day of completion of the business music transaction process, where you get through the goal line and at the same time you're playing a business music game. You're playing a business music game by using the essence of business music to be able to redirect that deal, that pipeline, that vessel, that process, that redirection of existing energy and adding more value to it in the world by sending it down your cable lines that you're laying cable down the lines, all the way down into blue oceans, into white space, into blue oceans, into white space, into blue oceans to be able to add more value to the deal in the future, and then therefore it has a better place to exist. That deal does it in the future by having it be led there by business music, orchestras leading the deal down the line into blue oceans for a better process for future growth. Yeah, yes. Thanks again. Bye, Dinky Tech. Bye, peace, bye. Dinky Tech, change for games. Dinky Tech, change for game studios. Bye, peace, bye.